units or something
that's
really
kind of
small.
the big like army builder that we thought would.
And we should have sold out of Parademons in 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they should have flown. And the fact that they didn't, and that the fact that at the end of the day, after a month they sold just as many units as Doom Patrol, pretty much said that's what your baseline. That was our baseline.
Right.
But the baseline wasn't big enough to justify keeping it going.
Did you get any boost from sort of the holiday season with Toys R Us picking up the singles and some of the online retailers being able to grab
To tell you
some
enough,
of that
that was almost like plugging holes. It was like just enough to barely keep it going.
Okay.
It really got to the point that the show had been off the air for so long. Honestly, I'll tell you, I was kind of thrown off because the noise online, and I will say on your site probably has more fans of JLU than any other site.
Right.
They're so loud online. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Chip. They're so loud online that management felt very comfortable that this, and also it was relatively inexpensive to do because a lot of the tooling is done. It's new heads, but like I said, that bare minimum number that we sold the same amount of Parademons as Doom Patrol or Justice Guild, it was just so far off from the minimum number we needed to even turn the machines on, that it just wasn't going to be enough.
So when you approach this last year, you have a certain number of slots. You knew you wanted to get to the remaining card-carrying members. How did you plug those other slots? How did you make those decisions for those characters?
We had actually a lot more slots because we thought the line was going to keep going with 6-packs and 3-packs and 4-packs on Maddie. So we actually wound up putting a lot more into what we didn't know ideally it was going to keep going forever. That was our plan.
Right.
But when we found out we just weren't selling enough, we basically we scaled it down to we're like, all right, if we have these 50, I'm making this number up, if we had these 50 numbers planned for 2011, but based on the sales numbers, we know we can only get to these 20. Out of the 50 we have slotted, I'm making up these numbers just as an example, who are the ones we got to do?
Okay.
And there's a lot of characters, not only I personally wanted to do, but I felt like should have been in the line to finish it up. Granny Goodness, really wanted to do a Wild West pack with Jonah Hex and Batlash. And honestly, these characters were in and out of the lineup so many times. One of the reasons they didn't make it is they were 100% tool.
Right.
You're really only seeing 1 or 2 figures a year that are 100% tool, like Toy Man up there, or Amanda Waller. Would have loved to get to more of those, but like the Wild West pack, there was just no way to do those without so much tooling. Yeah. And they all needed so much. I mean, we talked about doing like a cowboy Bruce Wayne and a cowboy John Stewart and a cowboy Diana, and it just.
You could use the vigilante body.
We looked at it, but yeah, it did. It was cheating it too much.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, we want to finish off the league, so that's why we want to make sure we got Stripe in there. We originally pitched him as a Comic-Con item, but then when it became clear that the direction from management was to bring Young Justice to Comic-Con, which makes total sense because that's the new property, which I got to tell you, we are really excited about it. It's not that Justice League could ever have an offspring, but the Young Justice toy line it's really looking like it's going to be that because the character selection is going to be just as vast.
Okay.
So we knew we wanted to finish the league, and that meant there were about 7 or 8 members. There was Stripe. We wanted to get some of those core non-show characters like Golden Age Green Lantern, Golden Age Jake Garrett, Blue Beetle. Right. We wanted to get Fire and the Translucent. I mean, honestly, the ones the fans were asking for are the ones we've got planned too. A lot of fans also don't realize the development process for the toy line is so lengthy that a good way of putting it is from a post online to seeing a toy on shelf is about 3 years. I mean, that's just the nature of the industry.
Right.
So the figures you're seeing in 2011 are ones that fans were asking for in 2008 and 9. So think of it that way. So if you guys all go back to your post of what you were requesting back in 2009, look at those requests, and then look at the 2011 and say, oh, so we are listening to you. It just, it takes, the development time is almost 3 years.
Right.
So
there's a couple of figures now that we've seen leak out, test shots like on eBay of like Firefly and Dr. Destiny. We didn't see those revealed at Toy Fair. They're not necessarily card-carrying members, so.
There were a lot of other legal issues and licensor issues with some of the figures. There's a lot of characters that we started to develop that we had to switch to characters that were going to be available quicker. And I mean, you guys have seen the Firefly and the Dr. Destiny, which actually neither of them were final. We were still making adjustments to which arms and legs they were going to have and stuff. But They would have been in like a Matty pack or something at this point, but when you can't sell enough parademons, it's hard to do, Firefly and Dr. Destiny.
Right.
We would have done them,
Yeah.
but we just didn't sell enough parademons to keep the line going. Maybe since the heads at least are pretty much tooled, the new parts, we could look at trying to maybe at 2013 or 14, but I'll tell you they aren't in the 11 or 12 line.
Okay.
There isn't a slot for them.
Right.
If maybe that 7-pack does really well, step up, guys. I hate blame. I'm not trying to blame the fans, and I hate sounding like that. But when you don't have an audience, you don't have enough customers, it's really hard to get management to say, we'll keep doing all these figures.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm just as frustrated. I wanted them too, and I didn't even get them.
Yeah.
So.
You guys did, when you first got the license, you did some like Batman animated figures just to kind of keep the peg space.
That one with Two-Face and Catwoman.
Right.
And
those kind of keep getting repainted and put out like at drugstores and stuff. Would that sort of thing continue? Would Justice League move into that sort of thing? It's just sort of you've got that.
It's possible. I would say don't count on it.
Okay.
Because especially now we have Young Justice, they're going to focus on that.
Right.
It was kind of done as a low-cost thing. If it did, it would be older figures. It would be no development. Because the whole point is to do stuff that's already done that they can just ship. It's probably, at this point, you're even going to see that start to peter off. It's always possible, but I wouldn't count on it.
And there's kind of a lost wave of singles that you announced at Comic-Con, too. That's, Hawkman with the shield, and Zatanna repainted, and the Volcana.
Yeah, some of them did wind up making it out. Like I think the red and blue Superman was in that Lost Wave.
He's in that, yes.
Or wasn't, but he did get released. Yeah, that really came down to Target moving back from their full year forecast. That we had to cut a wave of singles, and in a weird way, we wound up getting skipped over because we had another one that was in development and that was stronger. Again, those are figures that would have come out had there been enough customer support.
Right.
But at the end of the day. And I know fans are going to say a million things. Oh, well, if you did this character, we would have supported, or why are you always releasing Batman over and over again? It had to work at retail too. And even though it was called a collector line, I mean, we put that on there for the collectors. It had to work with moms. Right. There's no line that's at retail in today's market that is only aimed at collectors. The only lines that are only aimed at collectors are on Matty Collector.
Right.
If it's at retail, it's got to work first and foremost with moms. Collectors are always going to be secondary. It's just the nature of the economy and the industry. And that's why, even in the Target line, you saw so many Batmans and Supermans and Jon Stewarts and stuff. We did our best to get collector figures in there, but a mom has to buy it first.
Right. So with Young Justice, are they approaching that sort of like the hybrid collector?
Yeah. I'm not actually managing that one day to day the way I did Justice League. The way the DC team works at Mattel is we have kind of two groups, and I'm sort of in the DC Universe Green Lantern group, and there's another group that's managing Batman and Young Justice, even though you will see Young Justice in the DC Universe orange packaging. Okay. Kind of blends. But I was brought in to consult on it when they first started, and we did decide very deliberately to make them the same scale so that they would kind of work with Justice League. You're going to see, we showed it in New York, there's going to be singles, there's going to be 2-packs, there's going to be a fantastic build, a Hall of Justice. When you buy all the singles, you get all the pieces to build up the Hall of Justice, which will kind of work with the JLU figures too. Right. Honestly, Young Justice looks amazing. I mean, the character selection is going to be off the roof. That at least in terms of what we can draw from. Right. We've seen the list from our partners at Warner of how many characters they plan to put on the show, and it's a lot.
Oh, great.
So
we'll be seeing both adult and
the kid league. Yeah, you'll see some of the adult and some of the 2-packs and some pairings of basically the adult hero with their sidekick kind of thing. If it takes off, if it gets an audience, we would love. I mean, it'd be great for it to kind of become everything this has. Right. We'll have to see how it does.